doing fine. It's a living life.
Namaste, friends, and welcome back to the Way Om Yoga. I'm your instructor, Sarah, and today I'm going to be guiding you through this Fountain of Youth Yin-style practice. Now, today's theme is twofold. We're going to be focusing primarily on physical range of motion, going deeper in our flexibility, in working on mobility. So if that is a goal of yours in coming to yoga, this class is going to be for you. And then the other theme we're going to be exploring today is more on mental flexibility, mental adaptability. I don't know if any of you have children or interact with children, but if you ever watch them playing, you know, if they fall down, they scrape their knee, not long after, they're right back in it again, right? They have this innate ability just to bounce back like nothing ever happened. I want us to invite that level of curiosity. I want us to invite that level of levity into today's practice. So just going inward and focusing more on how the posture feels rather than how the posture looks, right? So coming into this collective space with a state of play, with a state of curiosity, keeping ourselves youthful, both inside and out, physically and mentally. Now for today's practice, go ahead and grab the following props if you haven't already. So we're going to be holding the poses for a few minutes at a time here. So if you want to work with a blanket, I have a blanket available for me. I also have a bolster cushion behind me. So if you want to grab some pillows, some blocks, whatever you feel like you might need to make this practice more accommodating, I want you to go ahead and take a moment and gather your things now. And while you're doing that, I just want to welcome you personally to the channel. My name is Sarah. I've had the immense privilege of guiding many a student through their practice for the last 10 years. I've been a student for 15 and I'm always learning something new. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for allowing me to share my knowledge with you all. It really means a lot. So once you've gathered your props, let's make our way into child's pose. So our first posture of the class, we're going to take this yin style. So of course, if you want to use your props in any way, my recommendation would be to take a bolster cushion out in front of you if you need that for support. And then alternatively, you can use a blanket here just for support for the knees and the tops of the feet. And if you need to take this a step further, you can roll up the bottom edge of your yoga mat and place the tops of your feet on that for support. If you find that holding child's pose for that long is a little hard on the feet, you could take that as well, okay? So however way you want to make your way into child's pose, we're going to be holding this for about 3 minutes. Again, more of a yin style approach to child's pose, and I'll explain as we go along how yin is different than its more yang counterparts, okay? So I will keep track of the time as we go along here, making our way into child's pose. And just connecting with our breath, finding sensation in the inner thighs, in the outer hip, along the spinal column here. And so in the yin style practice, we're focusing primarily on the deep connective tissue. So think of your fascia, your tendons, your ligaments, bones. Even the blood can be considered deep connective tissue based on its properties. And the way that our deep connective tissue responds, it responds to stress, so applying healthy amounts of pressure onto these areas, very passively, mind you, and then holding for extended periods of time. That's how we target our deep connective tissue. This is good if you want to increase your current range of motion, if you're working on flexibility, but this is just a wonderful practice to do as we age. No matter what your fitness level is, we all should be doing yin-style yoga. And with that said, again, we'll start to draw our awareness to our breath. And again, just not finding too little, not finding too much, but finding that just right position. Finding a comfortable edge that we can sustain for these 3 minutes. And at any point, if you need to come out of the pose and readjust, please do so. All right, friends, and then on your next inhalation, we'll come back to our breath. And as you exhale, we're going to slowly make our way out of child's pose, taking all the time that you need. Let's come into downward facing dog as a counter pose. Now, friends, Yin Yoga is very bittersweet, so it is not uncommon to come out of these postures and feel like you've aged 10 years, okay? So take your time. Again, we're coming up against those physical edges, right? Our mental edges, especially as we're holding the poses. And again, that's not to, we're not confusing this with pain, right? So we never want to take ourselves too far out of our limits. We never want to feel any type of like sharp sensation or painful sensation in the body. But again, it's not uncommon to feel just a slight achiness, a little bit of edginess when we come out of these poses, okay? All right, friends, so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate our next posture, which is going to be a Malasana squat. So I'm going to walk my hands back to meet my feet. I'm going to take my feet about hip distance apart, and then I'm just going to slowly make my way into the squatting position that I'm demonstrating here. And now we have lots of props available to us. So if you want to take, let's say, a blanket underneath the backs of the heels, especially if you feel like the heels are not quite making contact with the mat, and they don't have to necessarily, okay? But you can take that as an option. You can also sit on a bolster cushion if you need to, or a yoga block for added support to help keep you upright. And actually, I might just stick with this configuration here. And just so you can see, I'm gonna turn towards the camera so you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm turning my toes out slightly, and I'm sitting back on the heels, using those elbows as leverage and support to help me sit upright. So I'm pressing the elbows against the inner thighs and against the knees. We're only going to hold this for 2 minutes, okay? So I won't keep you here very long. So we'll come back to our setup. And if the toes don't turn out and, you know, the toes and knees are more in line, like parallel with each other, that's fine too, okay? But again, let's see where we can get curious. Let's just see where we can find ease, even though this is somewhat demanding, right? Comfortable edge. See where you can have some fun with this pose, right? And with Yin-style yoga, I want to encourage you to revisit this class, you know, 2-3 times a week. Even if it's just to maintain your current range of motion. It's so good to get into poses like this. And on that note of, you know, childlike curiosity and what children do, you know, oftentimes young children especially, they play and they interact with their world from this position, right? We often don't sit like this in our modern day Western lifestyles. So this is a really good one to do. For hip opening, so good for the health of the spine as well, the inner thighs. And revisiting your breath here on your next inhale through the nose. Exhale, let that go. And you may find, friends, that, you know, every second, every minute we're holding, maybe the body just finds some ease and you're able to release a little bit deeper, even if it's just a centimeter, right? Maybe you're a little bit more relaxed in your breathing. Maybe you can start to calm down some of that mind chatter, right? This is very much a moving meditation as well. All right, my friends, and that's time. So from here on your next inhalation, let's go ahead and start to bring those knees back together. I'm feeling a little stiff, I'm feeling a little achy, and again, that's normal. I'm gonna get off my bolster just to get a brief counter pose. I'm gonna set that off to the side. Now you can simply just extend your legs out in front of you if you wanna just, roll out that ankle, maybe shake out the legs a little bit. Personally, I like to take windshield wiper pose, so leaning back into the palms of my hand. I'm gonna just simply take my feet about mat distance apart, and then I'm just gonna allow my knees just to gently go side to side, like windshield wipers on a car. Nice gentle release for the lower back. Good. Okay, now we're gonna set up for our next pose here. So I'm gonna bring my blanket out in front because you may wanna use that here in just a moment. I'll keep that within arm's reach. I'm gonna bring my little bluey watch there, our little timer. So from here, I'm gonna come onto the left side of my body, and now some of you may want to come up onto the forearm for support. Some of you may want to come down onto the arm here and just cradle the back of the head with that left hand, and that's fine too. Now from here, using that right hand for support, notice that both legs are extended here. Now on your next inhalation, we're gonna just simply cross the left leg out in front of us, like so. Coming into this gentle twist here. Okay, now if this is plenty for you, I want to invite you to stay here. Otherwise, you're going to reach back with that right hand, catching the back of the right foot, pressing the hand, or rather pressing the foot into the hand, coming into cat pulling its tail. I know it's kind of a strange name, but that's what it's called in Yin Yoga, so that's what we're doing. And again, you can do this by coming up onto the forearm as well, but we're getting into obviously the quadricep here. We're getting a nice gentle twist, getting into the hamstring, just really covering all of our bases here in this posture. We're only gonna hold this for about 2 minutes, friends, okay? And again, feel free just to make any adjustments as needed. Coming back to your breath. All right, friends, and that is time. So from here on your next inhalation, go ahead and let that go if you were taking the foot grab option, and we're gonna make our way onto our bellies here. So bringing both legs together. Go ahead and just come onto the stomach here. And yeah, if you'd like, you can even take windshield wiper pose here. So bending both knees and just allowing the feet to go side to side here just for a moment. Great work. Okay, and while I have us here on our stomachs, so in this prone position, we're gonna add on before we get the other side, okay? So we're gonna come into a resting frog pose, so half resting frog. So this is where the blanket may come in handy, especially if you're on a harder surface like I am. So all you're simply gonna do is you're gonna keep your left leg extended back behind you, and all we're gonna do is just draw that right knee up. You can bring it at like 45 degrees, maybe 90, and if you wanna have that blanket there for additional support, you can make that adjustment, okay? So we're simply just drawing that right knee up towards the right side here, and we're gonna rest on the forearms here for about 2 minutes. So just kind of a nice restorative counter pose before we continue on here in our practice. You can rest the forehead on the forearms here. Yeah, and if you have that bolster, you can even take it with the bolster out in front as well, so you have options. And just enjoying this release for the lower back. This pose is really good for digestion as well. All right, friends, we'll start to deepen our breath in our next inhale. Exhale, let that go. And then from here, let's go ahead and bring both legs together. And here you're perfectly positioned just to roll onto your right side to take cat pulling its tail on the other side, but I'm gonna turn around and face the camera so you can roll onto your right side here as I'm demonstrating, but I am gonna turn around the other way just so you all can see me a little bit better. Okay, make sure you have that blanket nearby and at the ready, okay? Now once again, we're gonna come up onto the right side so you can stay propped up on that right forearm for support. I personally like to come down onto the arm and then just use the right hand to cradle the back of my head here, okay? So both hips are stacked, and then from here, we're going to extend the left leg just straight out in front of us. Again, this may be enough sensation for today. Otherwise, I want you to reach back with the left hand, bending the right knee this time, catching the right foot, and pressing the foot into the hand here for a nice gentle twist here. Okay, and again, we're only here for about 2 minutes, okay, guys? We'll keep you in this one very long. And yeah, feel free to go back to any of my classes, but especially this video if you need to add on more time in a more traditional studio guided yin practice. You know, classes can be anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half, believe it or not. You know, if you hold 6 poses for 10 minutes, you know, that's your class right there. So yeah, absolutely. If you want to go back and watch this video again and add more time, you're welcome to do that, okay? But just to keep things nice and concise on here, I just did these holds for about 2 to 3 minutes in duration, okay? And again, I want you to revisit our theme for this class, just taking notice of how you feel. We're about at midpoint in the class. What sensations have come up for you? whether that's physically in the body, maybe mentally, what's come up. All right, friends, and that is time in this pose. So let's go ahead and let go of that leg. I'm definitely feeling that one on this side. And then once again, let's make our way on to the low belly. Let's get that counter pose once again. Windshield wiper pose. So just bringing the forearms out in front. Let's go ahead and bend both knees and just, allow those legs just to go side to side here. Nice and easy. Okay, and then we'll take that resting half frog once again. So this time with the left knee bent. If you need to bring that blanket along for the ride with you, you have that there. So keeping that right leg extended back behind you, rotating onto the low belly here. And we'll just enjoy this nice, just passive counter pose here. And again, I just really love and appreciate the yin practice so much. Like I said, yin is just very bittersweet. You know, in the moment, in the thick of it, it can feel really edgy, but once you get out of these poses, once you get on with the rest of your day, I just find there's just this sweetness, this lightness in my body, this like yoga buzz I have that I carry with me into the rest of my day. And, you know, we even see yin happening and at work in nature, right? When a caterpillar undergoes transformation and its metamorphosis, it becomes a butterfly, right? It undergoes this edginess, this growth period, this pressure. Same thing with minerals and rocks. You know, without that pressure, we wouldn't have diamonds, right? So too, our body can benefit from healthy amounts of pressure, healthy amounts of stress, to help us thrive, to help us grow, to help us transform. All right, friends, so once again, we'll come back to our breath on our next inhale through the nose, and exhale. We'll slowly make our way back onto our stomachs. Now, from here, we are gonna just simply roll onto our backs. So in a supine position. I've got one more pose for you guys before I let you go. So we're gonna take in Yin Yoga, this is called Bananasana, and it's basically you're creating a banana shape with your body. It's super cute. So I'm gonna kind of talk you through it and then we'll do it all together, okay? So starting from lying flat on my mat, supine position, I'm simply just gonna walk both feet over to the right-hand corner of my mat. Now I want you to notice my hips aren't lifting off the ground and my sitting bones are still making full contact with the yoga mat. So try not to lift up right there, okay? So you're just moving your legs and your ankles over to the right-hand corner of your mat. Now, think like a banana shape, right? We're gonna take the upper half of your body, so the upper body, the shoulders, the head, the neck, over in the same direction as your feet. So everything is leaning over in the direction of the right-hand corner of your mat. Now, I'm grabbing onto my opposite wrist here. But you have some options. You can cross the arms in front of your chest like I'm showing here, or you can bring them down and along your sides, especially if you find that your fingers are like feeling a little tingly or falling asleep. You can take that option, okay? And we are gonna hold this one, let's go for about 2 minutes in this, okay? And another option you can take, you can cross the left ankle over the right. So in yoga, we say, you know, you're only as young as your spine. So this is a really good one just for spinal mobility. And like I mentioned before, yin is just so good for us as we age. And again, even if our intention is not to develop further in our flexibility, it at least helps us maintain our current range of motion, right? Our current state of health. Oh, and I also forgot to mention, friends, you can grab onto opposite elbows too as you're leaning over in this pose as well. Okay, so once again, friends, we'll slowly make our way back into our supine position, just lying flat on the mat. And then just briefly, let's just hug the knees in towards our chest before we get the other side, okay? If you want to rock side to side gently, you can. All right, we've just got one more side. So from here, let's go ahead and walk the feet, walking the ankles over to the left-hand corner this time of your mat. Again, creating that arch shape in the upper body as well, making sure that the hips and the sitting bones don't leave the mat, okay? And then we'll start to lean over towards the left side. Again, same options as far as how you want to hold your arms. If you want to grab onto opposite elbows as you lean over, you can do that. You can cross the right ankle over the left. And again, if you find that this is just producing just like a tingling sensation in the upper body and the fingertips, you can cross the hands out in front of you like so, or just bring them down along your side, okay? You'll still get the benefit of this yin posture. And so once again, friends, we'll start to deepen our breath on our next inhale through the nose. And exhale. From here, we'll slowly make our way back to center. And again, if you liked that counter pose by just simply hugging the knees in towards your chest, you can rock side to side. I also want to invite you to take happy baby pose, so you can bend the knees in towards your chest, and then you're going to reach for the outer edges of the feet and kind of like you're walking along the ceiling. Yeah, happy baby pose. Just again, another cute pose to leave you guys with today. So if you want to take that as a counter pose, that's available to you here. Well done. Excellent work today, everyone. And then from here, I'm going to close off practice with you. Now, of course, if you want to take Shavasana or seated meditation, you are in a very good place to do that. If you want to go back and add more time to any of these poses, you can do that as well. But I want to again close off practice with you. And thank you guys so much for showing up today and taking this journey with me. I hope you feel more youthful, not just in your body, but in your mind and your spirit as well. And I hope you can take this with you into the rest of your day, whatever it may be for you. And if you are enjoying my content, friends, I would love it if you would support the channel by liking, by subscribing, leave me some comments, let me know if this practice has helped you in any way. And I will see you in the next video. Until next time, namaste.